Hello and welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd and you are watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. Really appreciate you being here. I want to give an update on the Israel Gaza Hamas situation that's going on over there. I haven't talked too much about Israel lately because there really hasn't been too much major information coming out, but I wanted to kind of fill you in on what the latest is going on down here. So yeah, lots happening here. I have an article that I pulled up, and we're going to talk about this. So Netanyahu immediately vows retribution after Hamas kills 21 Israeli soldiers in central Gaza. So yeah, apparently, I don't know if this was like an ambush or something, but yeah, this was the largest like amount of soldiers that were killed in any given time of fighting, I believe, in inside of Gaza. So yeah, 21 Israeli soldiers were killed, and Netanyahu is vowing retribution. Okay, so this is kind of bad timing because there's a lot of talks right now of trying to slow down this war or even put a pause to the fighting. And this is definitely gonna put a halt to that, more than likely. And I think because Netanyahu has basically been hell bent on just destroying Hamas, and he keeps saying, no matter what happens, we're gonna go after Hamas, we're gonna destroy them. No one's gonna stop us. He is completely dedicated to this mission of destroying Hamas. So this is definitely gonna make it difficult for any ceasefire talks or anything like that. So yeah, we've got Netanyahu vowing retribution here. So let's take a look at this article real quick. An attack on Israel's forces in the Gaza Strip on Monday left 21 soldiers dead. Its military said Tuesday the attack was the deadliest for Israeli troops since the Hamas-led massacre on October 7th. So yeah, it was the deadliest. Um, According to the Israeli military, reservists were preparing explosives to demolish two buildings in central Gaza when a militant fired a rocket-propelled grenade at a tank nearby. The blast from the rocket outside the buildings triggered the explosives inside them, causing both two-story buildings to collapse on the soldiers. Oh, that's terrible. Um, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu mourned the loss of the soldiers, saying Monday was one of the hardest days since the war began. So yeah, the buildings collapsed when those explosives went off. That's terrible. At least 217 Israeli soldiers have been killed since the ground offensive began in late October, including three in a separate event on Monday, according to the military. So yeah, we've got 217 soldiers from the Israeli side that have died so far. Monday's attack could become a major setback for renewed calls for ceasefire as Netanyahu vowed the IDF will continue its war with Hamas until absolute victory. And he did come out on X or Twitter, and he did say, "In the name of our heroes and for our own lives, we will not stop fighting until absolute victory." That is what he said. So, like I told you, he is very dedicated to this war. He is not going to give up, and he has vowed retaliation here, and he will keep fighting in Gaza until Hamas is defeated. So I've been saying that for quite a while now, that this war is going to continue to go on down here until Hamas is basically defeated. And I've been hearing as well a lot that Israel is having a lot of setbacks. They're struggling a lot. They are starting to move down into southern Gaza, but they are struggling a lot with this war, and it's not going as easy as I guess it was claimed to have been. But Netanyahu did say at the very beginning of this war that it was going to take some time, that it was going to take at least months to complete this war against Hamas. So, switching gears, I have another article I want to talk about as well. This is in regards to there's a lot of claims coming out right now that Israel is blocking aid to the country, or to Gaza, and there's a shortage of food, there's a shortage of supplies, and people are just starving down here. And there's actually a lot of footage coming out online, and lots of talk of hashtag Gaza starving. Okay, so there's a lot of people talking about it and trying to spread awareness of this news that the people in Gaza are literally starving. So this article talks about the fact that Israel rejects the UN and aid agencies' criticism that Gaza is on the brink of starvation. So they're claiming that there is no shortage of food. And it says here that since the beginning of the war with Hamas, IDF says 10,000 aid trucks have entered Gaza. So I do know that there has been aid entering Gaza. I've also been hearing that some aid has been blocked by Israel. I've also heard that Hamas takes control of some of this aid that comes in, especially fuel and things like that. Excuse me. So lots and lots of different information coming about this. I'm not quite sure. It could be like a mixture of everything happening over here. But as far as we know, there's lots of reports coming out that the people in Gaza are starving, and it's horrible to hear that, especially if it is the truth. And I'm sure there are people there that are struggling and starving. I'm sure. So just kind of going to go over this real quick. The head of Israeli army unit tasked with coordinating the massive international humanitarian aid operation for millions of Gazan civilians caught in the midst of a raging war in their tiny enclave rejected recent claims that the territory was on the brink of starvation or forcing the imminent threat of infectious and noxious diseases. Colonel Mosh Tetro, head of coordination and liaison administration for Gaza, a division of the military body that in peace times facilitates entry permits for hundreds of thousands of Palestinian civilians and laborers and oversees Palestinian imports and exports to Israel and beyond. And told Fox News Digital that while he was familiar with reports claiming the territory was on the brink of starvation at the moment, there are no restrictions on food going to Gaza. So keep hearing, mixed claims here. One side saying there's no food. Israel's claiming, no, we are allowing food coming in. I'm not really sure what's really happening there, but these reports are coming out. So speaking on Friday, for the first time in nearly a month, President Biden and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu discussed the ongoing situation in Gaza. According to a readout of the call provided by the White House, the President and Prime Minister reviewed the situation in Gaza and the shift to targeted operations that will enable the flow of increasing amounts of humanitarian assistance while keeping the military pressure on Hamas and its leaders. So there is more push for providing more food and aid to Gaza, and I hope the citizens there are able to receive what they need, because it's very horrible what's happening. Here's a couple photos here too. There's a photo coming out from Gaza showing there that people obviously could potentially be starving. Sorry about that. Could be starving down there, and that to me looks like people starving there. They're handing out buckets and trying to show that they need food. So and just look at the amount of kids in this photo too. It's terrible that many of the people that are affected there are children, and it's just horrible. I can't imagine going through that, especially as a young child, and not having anything to eat and going hungry, going to sleep hungry, and just not having anywhere to sleep, not having a comfortable place or even a roof over your head. And many of these people are sleeping in tent cities and stuff like that, is sleeping on the side of the road, and many of them have lost their homes, so they've got nowhere to go and they're stuck there. So it's really terrible what's happening. There's another photo there. That's what I was talking about. So hashtag Gaza starving is something that's trending right now on Twitter and social medias around the world, that the poor people of Gaza, the Palestinians, are starving over there, and they don't have anything to eat. Okay, so very terrible, guys. Very terrible what's happening here. I also got a video up on the screen. This is some footage from Gaza as well of some kids and people trying to scrounge up whatever's left here of this looks like rice, and they're trying to get whatever they can to eat. And the way this food is being passed out like this definitely looks like people are just finding whatever they can to really eat, and there's kids walking around with these bowls, as you can see here in this video, and they're trying to just get some food, they're trying to eat whatever they can. So it's very terrible what's happening over there. I wanted to just show you that. I think it's important that we understand that, that at the end of the day, there's a lot of people that are being affected by this, and it's terrible. It shouldn't be this way, but it is. Okay, so I also want to switch gears again one more time. We're going to talk about this for a minute. So now Egypt is starting to come out and warn Israel and say, hey, do not attempt to take over the Philadelphia route. Okay, this will damage our ties with Israel. So they're concerned about an influx of these Palestinians flowing into their country. And Egypt, from day one, ever since this Gaza war started, have not been okay with Palestinians coming into their country. They have basically shut down their border, as far as I know, and they aren't allowing Palestinians to come in. They're saying you need to stay in Gaza. So it's crazy because a large portion of Gaza has just been completely destroyed. So where are these people supposed to go? They've got nowhere to go, and no one wants to let them in, and it's terrible. So before we get into this, I'm going to show you. This is a photo of where the Philadelphia corridor. If you're wondering where that's at, it's basically the border of Gaza and Egypt. Okay, so this is the area that Egypt is warning Israel and saying, do not attempt to take this over. And Egypt may get involved in this if Israel tries to do this, because I don't know if they're going to try to push the Palestinians into Egypt or what they're going to do. But again, where are these people going to go? Because they're not exactly welcomed in Israel. And Gaza is this what many people call this open air prison, and they're just kind of stuck there. They've got nowhere to go, and it's terrible. So let's go over this just real quick. Egypt warns Israel that attempt to take over Philadelphia route will damage ties. Egypt warns Israel that any attempt to seize control of the strip of land that separates Gaza and Egypt will result in a serious threat there to relations between the neighboring countries. So hopefully they don't do that. We do not want Egypt getting involved in this as well. The Philadelphia corridor is a 14-kilometer long slice of land on the Egypt-Gaza border. Israeli leaders have talked about taking control of the corridor to prevent possible weapon smuggling into Gaza. Egypt fears that a military operation on the border could push large numbers of Palestinians onto its territory. So that's what they're mainly concerned of, is the Palestinians coming into Egypt. It must be strictly emphasized that any Israeli move in this direction will lead to a serious threat to Egyptian-Israeli relations. Dia Rashwan, the head of Egypt's State Information Service, says in an online statement. Rashwan says Gaza's western border is secure, and that, Israeli claims that weapons were being smuggled from Egypt into Gaza are false. So that's the latest there with Egypt. And finally, we're going to talk about this. This is like surprising, but not surprising, really. We'll just kind of talk about this real quick. But Hamas has said that they will reject the Israeli offer of a 2-month pause in war for release of hostages. So basically here, there's still several Hamas leaders that are down in Gaza. They're refusing to leave. Israel's saying, you guys can leave if you want to. And we'll propose this 2-month ceasefire in exchange for prisoners, basically hostages, and then Israel will give the Palestinian security prisoners back to Gaza. Okay, so it doesn't look like there's going to be a pause here, because obviously Hamas is not wanting to accept that. And then we had what I just told you in the very beginning there, that Netanyahu said that he is going to vow retaliation here. So that's going to make it difficult to come to any agreement of a ceasefire. So most likely we won't see one. Maybe these leaders will be able to come together and talk about it and actually be able to go ahead with this ceasefire here. But I don't think it's going to happen. Because as well, what Hamas is demanding is in order for this ceasefire to happen, they want Israel to get out of Gaza. They want them to withdraw completely, and that's not going to happen. So more than likely, we're not going to see a ceasefire here. This thing is going to continue, just like I've been telling all of you for a very long time. we're going to see a continuation of this war, and it may last several more months. It may last the rest of the year or longer. Who knows? It all depends on how long it takes to eliminate Hamas, even if they're able to do that, and also how the war goes down there, and whether the Israelis will stay in support of Netanyahu pushing for this war continuously down in Gaza. So again, while we see this war going on in Gaza, we're going to continue to see Hezbollah attacking Israel, and eventually Israel may go after Hamas here in the next week or two, potentially. So we may see that, and as well down in Yemen with the Houthis, we're going to continue to see these attacks because the Houthis are not happy with what's going on with the Palestinians and the way they're being treated over here, and with Hamas, obviously. So, expect to see more of this. It's going to continue. That's why I put there on the screen that the Gaza war continues, because it's going to continue. It's going to keep going on for a while. But that's going to be the latest here on what's happening with Israel and Gaza. If you guys have any questions or anything, you can comment down below. Let me know on what you think is happening over here. If you think this is genocide, what's happening in Gaza, and the Israelis are doing this, let me know. Let me know your thoughts down below, and what you think. Okay, so I appreciate you all being here. That'll be the latest. I'll update you if there's anything else that comes out. But I appreciate you. Thank you very much for being here today. We'll see you guys all in the next video. Everybody take care and God bless. See you later.